Hi guys, and welcome back to the Crochet Tour YouTube channel. In today's video I'm bringing you another new crochet tutorial, and this time it's another Pokemon one, and it's actually from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, so one of the new Pokemon characters. This is a request from Trio RAS, so I hope you really enjoy this video. And yeah, without further ado, this is going to be Smoliv. So I've got two versions of Smoliv here. This is the shiny version with the black olive, and then this is like the normal version with the normal sort of green olive on the top. So you could obviously make whichever one you want. In the video I'm making the normal version. If you want to make the shiny, just do some colour substitutions to create that. But yeah, this is a fairly simple one, so I am going to badge this one as a beginner level tutorial. I do slightly more explanation in this video than I would do normally for simple stitches like single crochet, increases and decreases. So yeah, this is going to be a beginner tutorial. It should be fairly quick to make one of these, I'd say between 5 and 10 hours, and you don't need too much yarn for this either, which is always a plus. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into what you'll be needing for this tutorial. For this tutorial you'll be needing, at a minimum, aran weight yarn in the following colours: dark green and a lighter green. But then if you want to, you can also have an olive green, which is slightly lighter than your light green, and that can be the colour that you use for the olive on top of the Smoliv. So I am going to be using 3 different shades of green, but if you just have these two, then that's absolutely fine. The body and the olive on top can be the same colour and it will still look fine, I think. Then you'll be needing your crochet hook. I've got a 4mm crochet hook to go with my aran weight yarn, but if you're using a heavier or lighter weight of yarn, you can size up or down as required. Also, just one thing to note as well, you definitely don't need as much yarn as I'm showing here. You only need about 25 grams or less of each colour to do this tutorial. Then you'll be needing some scissors. You'll be needing some safety eyes. I've got these 6mm black safety eyes, and you'll obviously need the backs for those as well. Now, of course, you can use other techniques to add the eyes, such as embroidering them, using felt or crocheting them as well, so that's not 100% necessary. And then another slightly unusual thing I have here is some white paint and a paintbrush, and this is because Smoliv has a white dot in the middle of his eyes and then there's black around that, so I'm going to use some paint to paint that dot onto the safety eyes. And again, not 100% necessary, but it's something that you could do if you have white paint. Then you'll be needing some stuffing. You'll need more than this, but this is just to demonstrate. You'll be wanting a stitch marker. I've just got an offcut of yarn that I'm using for this. You'll be wanting some black embroidery thread for the mouth and a yarn needle for embroidering the mouth and sewing everything together. Then finally, you may want some pins to help keep things in place when you're sewing them down. I don't think I'm going to be using pins too much in this tutorial, but it's always nice to have them as an option. So let's get straight into the tutorial. So before I do any actual crochet, I'm going to add the white dots to the black safety eyes. So I've put my white paint in here, I've got my paintbrush, and I'm going to try and add a dot to the centre of this as neatly as possible. So something like that should be fine. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. I might go back in and try and touch it up a little bit. But yeah, just having that white dot in the centre is what you're looking for. And then obviously you're going to want to do that on the other one as well. So once you've done that, just leave these to dry and we'll move on to the actual crochet part. We're going to start by crocheting the main body first, so you're going to want to use your light green yarn for this. For round 1, we're going to start off by doing 6 single crochets in a magic circle. So for this, you're just going to wrap the yarn around your 2 fingers like this, overlap at this point here, then hold on to it with your 4th finger over here, insert your hook under the first loop and pull through this loop while twisting your crochet hook. Then you should just be able to hold on to that loop with this finger here and let go of everything else, and that should remain in place. Then you're going to do a chain like this, and that is your magic circle ready for you to crochet into. So now we're going to work 6 single crochets. So go into the loop, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. and 6. Then this little tail here, we're going to pull on this to close up the hole, so just pull as tightly as you can for that. And that is round 1 complete. You should have 6 single crochets. For round 2, we're going to increase in each stitch all the way around. So to increase, that just means doing 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So we'll start off here by doing 1 single crochet, and then we'll do another one in the same stitch, and you're just going to do that all the way around, so 2 single crochets in each stitch. As you can see, I'm also crocheting over this tail a little bit just to secure it in place. You don't have to do that for the entire round, but it is preferable to do that for a few stitches, just so that you can then snip that yarn tail without worrying about everything unraveling. Okay, so that's round 2 complete, and you should have 12 single crochets. In each round we're going to be adding an additional 6 single crochets into the round. So for round 3 we're going to do single crochet increase and repeat that pattern all the way around, and that will get us up to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. So I'll show you that. So I'm going to start by just doing a single crochet in this stitch, and at this point I'm going to start using my stitch marker, because as the rounds get bigger it gets easier to lose track of where you started. So I'm just using my stitch marker to mark the first stitch of the round. So that was my single crochet. I'm now going to do an increase, and I'm just going to repeat that all the way around. So single crochet, increase, so I didn't quite get into that stitch properly. Okay, so that's round 3 complete, and you should have your 18 single crochets now. At this point you should hopefully be comfortable with doing single crochets and increases, so I'm going to talk you through the next few rounds now, as it's quite repetitive for me to show you all of these. So for round 4 is going to be 2 single crochet increase and repeat that pattern all the way around, so 6 times in total to get you up to 24 single crochets at the end of the round. Then for round 5 you're going to do 3 single crochet increase and repeat that all the way around to get you up to 30. Round 6, 4 single crochet increase, repeat that pattern all the way around to get you up to 36. Then round 7 to 14 you're going to just single crochet all the way around. So for round 7 to 14 just do 1 single crochet in every single crochet in the round, so that should be 36 single crochets per round for round 7 to 14. I'll meet you when you're about to start round 15, as we're going to do some decreases then, so I'll need to show you how to do this. So at the end of round 14, this is what mine is looking like. Now we're going to start round 15, and we're going to be doing some decreases as I mentioned before. So I'm just going to remove my stitch marker, and we're going to start round 15. So we're going to start off just by doing 4 single crochets, and I'm going to mark the first one just so I remember where the round starts. Then after we've done 4 single crochets, we're going to do a decrease in the next 2 stitches. So to do that, just start off as if you're doing a normal single crochet like this, but instead of yarning over and pulling through both loops on your hook, go into the next stitch and pull up another loop like this, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So we're going to repeat that pattern all the way around, so 4 single crochets, and then a decrease, So nearly at the end of the round now. Okay, so at the end of round 15 you should have 30 single crochets now. I'm just going to talk you through the next few rounds now, because as you now know how to do a decrease, you should be able to do these. So for round 16 to 17, single crochet all the way around, so 30 single crochets in each round. Round 18, 3 single crochet decrease, and repeat that pattern all the way around to get you down to 24 at the end of the round. Round 19, single crochet all the way around, so 24 single crochets, and then round 20, do 2 single crochet decrease and repeat that pattern all the way around to get you down to 18 single crochets. I'll meet you at this point, as we're then going to attach our safety eyes, we're going to embroider the mouth, and we're going to add some stuffing at that point. So I've just completed round 20, and what I'm going to do now is to firstly add the safety eyes. So we're going to be placing these between rounds 10 and 11, roughly 5 single crochets apart. So here are my safety eyes. The white dot has dried now, so that's completely fine. I don't need to worry about that. I've got the backs for my safety eyes here, and I'm going to count to round 10 and 11 and show you where we're going to place these safety eyes. So if we start from round 1, so this circle that you see here is round 1, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so this is round 10, and the one above it is round 11. So I'm just going to place my finger there to remind myself where it is, and then we just need to select 2 places where we're going to place the eyes. So if I place 1 here, then I can count across, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then place the other eye here, and just check that I'm happy with that. I might want to twist the eye around slightly because my white circle isn't quite even, so I just want to make sure that that looks okay. So something like that. Once you're happy with the placement of the eyes, you can just pop the backs on. I'm going to push them through like just 1 time. So if you see here, I'm just going to do the first bump. So not putting them on completely. So I haven't pushed them all the way down yet, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And the reason for that is just because we can be a little bit clever when we're embroidering the mouth and put our black embroidery thread underneath the space between the Smoliv and the back of the safety eye, and then we can press down all the way, and that will also keep the black embroidery thread in place as well. So I'm just going to leave it like that for now, but yeah, this is what it looks like once I've done that. So now what we're going to do is embroider the mouth between the eyes. So I've got my black embroidery thread now, and I'm going to do the mouth. One thing to mention is obviously you can see this eye did actually end up chipping a very small amount here, the white paint. That's completely fine. I can touch that up at the end. So yeah, I may do that at the end. But what I'm going to do now is just start feeding this embroidery thread through, and we're going to make a jaggedy mouth. You can have whatever facial expression that you want on your Smoliv, but I'm going to do a mouth that has 3 kind of jagged lines to it. So I'm going to go through like that. Then select the next stitch that I'm going to go in. Then pull that through. then one more line. I lost my thread, that's alright, I'll just put that back on my yarn needle and do the last little bit. Okay, so that's what my mouth looks like on my Smoliv. So once you're happy with your mouth, you can just, as I mentioned before, if you haven't already placed the backs of the safety eyes down completely, then you can get both of your ends of your tail and you can kind of wrap it round a little bit like this. Sorry if you hear my dog barking in the background. And then you can place your back down all the way and that will secure that in place. Same thing on the other side. Like that. And then press that down. It just means you don't have to do knotting in the back of your work, you're just using the back of the safety eye to secure the tails. So then what you can do is grab your scissors and just cut. Okay, so that is now what my Smoliv is looking like. Now we're going to want to add some stuffing. I've got my stuffing and I'm just going to make sure to stuff this fairly firmly, not too much so that you can see it really coming through in the gaps in your work, but just enough so that it's nice and firm. So probably add a little bit more to the top of this, but that's kind of close to what I think we're going to need. Yeah, this should be enough once I've added this. Okay, so that's what it looks like when it's been stuffed. Now I'm just going to do the final couple of rounds. So for round 21 we're going to do single crochet decrease all the way around. So that should be 6 times in total, repeating that pattern. Going to redo that stitch. I think I didn't quite pull all the loops through. Okay, so that is round 21 complete. You should have your 12 single crochets and we're nearly done, just one more round left to do. So for round 22 we're going to just decrease all the way around, so 6 decreases. Okay, so that's the final round. You can now cut your yarn. Leave a little bit of a tail though when you're cutting it. Pull your yarn tail through, and now we're going to close up that remaining hole. So if you grab your yarn needle, you're just going to weave your remaining tail through the front loop only of each of those final 6 decreases. And if you don't know where to start, you can always count back from the last one that you just did. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to start in this front loop here. Then just pull tightly, the hole should close up quite easily, and then you can just weave your yarn tail through that hole into the back of your work and then cut that. Okay, so that is the main sort of body and face complete for our Smoliv. So the next thing that we're going to move on to is making the olive to go on the top of this. So you're going to want your olive green colour for this. So for the olive, for round 1, we're going to work 9 single crochets into a magic circle. Now with the magic circle, you're just going to do exactly the same thing as you did for the main head / body. So just loop round like this, go under the first loop, pull up the second, and then twist as you do so. Hold on to this loop with your index finger but release everything else, and then chain 1 like this. Now we're ready to just work our 9 single crochets into here. Okay, so now that I've got my 9 single crochets, I'm just going to pull on this tail, pull nice and tightly to close up that hole in the middle like that. So this is round 1 complete. For round 2, we're going to increase all the way around, so that just means working 2 single crochets into every stitch, and that will get us up to 18 at the end of the round. And as with before, I'm going to crochet over this tail for a few stitches just to keep it in place, and also because I can see the hole is starting to open back up again, I'm just going to pull on this tail once more, and now that should be fully closed up, and hopefully I won't need to do that again. Okay, so that's round 2 complete, and I've got my 18 single crochets. I do actually notice the hole is opening up a little bit again, so I'm just going to pull on this once more, and hopefully that now stays closed. Now for rounds 3 to 9, you're simply just going to single crochet all the way around, so 18 single crochets in each round. So I'll meet you when you're ready to start round 10. Okay, so I'm now ready to start round 10, which is the final round. We're just going to be doing a single crochet and then a decrease. And we're going to repeat that all the way around, so 5 more times, and that's going to get you down to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. Okay, so that's round 10 complete. I'm now going to cut my yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail because we're going to want something to weave in if if we make it too short, then it gets hard to kind of knot that. Then I'm going to pull that tail through, and then what I'm going to do is just knot this on the inside of the olive. So select a nearby loop like this one. If I can get my hook inside it, there we go. And then I'm just going to bring this tail through and do a little knot like that. You can do more if you want, but I know that, you know, this this item that I'm making here isn't going to be played with, it's just going to be displayed, so I'm not too worried about it coming undone. That should be enough for me. So now that we've done that, the next thing that we're going to want to do is add some stuffing to this. So I'm just going to grab my stuffing. I've got a little bit of stuffing, I'm just going to pop this in here. You want to leave a little bit of a gap at the top, so don't stuff all the way to the top. This should be perfect. Basically what we're going to do next is make the top of the olive and then sew that to the top of the olive like that, and it's going to kind of dip inwards, so that's why you don't want to stuff all the way to the top. So this should be more than enough. For the top of the olive, we're going to start off once again by doing some single crochets into a magic circle. So this time we're going to do 6 single crochets. Okay, so that's round 1. Then for round 2 we're going to increase all the way around, and that'll get us up to 12 at the end of round 2. Okay, so that's round 2 complete. Now for rounds 3 to 4 you're simply going to single crochet all the way around, so I won't bore you with filming that, and I'll just meet you when you finish round 4. Okay, so when you finish round 4 you should have something that looks like this. You're going to want to cut your yarn now, leaving quite a long tail. We're going to need this tail not only for sewing the top of the olive to the other part of the olive, but then also sewing the olive to the top of the head, so you probably want to leave a fairly long tail for this just to be on the safe side. Then just pull your tail through. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sew this to the olive. So what you're going to want to do is just pop this part so that it's sort of inside out like this, so the wrong side is facing us on this side and the right side is on the inside of this. And then what you're going to do is just grab your yarn needle, thread this tail through, and then we're going to start sewing this. Okay, so you're going to want to place your olive top onto your olive, and then we're going to be sewing this down to the olive. So we're going to go into the front loops of each of the top and the olive itself. So this is the front loop, the closest loop to me currently, of the olive top, and then I'm going to go into the front loop, which is the closer of the 2 loops for the olive itself. And then I'm going to sew round, doing this all the way around, so sewing the front loops together. So as you can hopefully tell, I've now sewn all 12 single crochets together, but we do end up with this ugly looking gap if we finish there, so I am just going to do a couple more stitches just to tidy this up. I'm not going for any particular loops for this, I'm just literally trying to close up the remaining hole. So like that, and now that looks a lot neater. So when you finish that, you should end up with something that looks like this. So you've got your olive and then the little sort of bit that goes inside that's supposed to look like the olive, like when the pit's removed from the olive and there's a hole, is basically what I'm trying to say. So that is the olive complete. Now what you want to do is just bring your yarn tail to the bottom of the olive, because we're going to be using this for sewing later on. So just bring it down there. Now it's ready for when we're going to sew this to the body. I'm just going to sew the olive to the top of the body now. So you're just going to want to position it at the top like this, so that you're covering, you know, the final couple of rounds by sewing this down. You can use pins if you want, but I'm not going to personally be doing that. I'm just going to hold it in place with my fingers, and I'm going to just go through random loops, just trying to sew this down as neatly as I can. It's not actually the end of the world if this isn't particularly neat, because we are going to be sewing leaves around the olive a bit later on, and that could hide any messy stitches that you're doing here, so I wouldn't worry too much about making it extremely neat. The more important thing is that it's sort of structurally sound, so it stays in place and it's not going to wobble around, so you might need to sew down quite a few stitches to get to that point. But let's see how many I need to do. Okay, I think I'm getting there with this. I'll probably just sew a couple more stitches down and then leave it at that. Just one more. Okay, so that's what my olive looks like on the top of his head. I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to weave my yarn tail back through the olive now, and that's going to be the last time that I need that tail, so I can now snip that to get rid of it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to making the leaves. As I mentioned, there's kind of, I think there's 5 leaves in total that we need to make. There's 4 that are all going to be the same, and then there's one that looks slightly different to the rest of them. So let's move on to that now. We're going to start off by making the 4 identical leaves. I've already made 3 of these just to show you what they're going to look like, and I'm going to do the 4th one with you now. So yeah, they're all going to look exactly the same, and they're all pretty quick to make. So for round 1, in our dark green colour, we're going to start off by working 4 single crochets into a magic circle for round 1. So that's round 1. Then for round 2, we're going to do single crochet increase, single crochet increase, which is going to get us up to 6 single crochets at the end of the round. Okay, so at the end of round 2, I've got my 6 single crochets. I'm going to talk you through the next few rounds now because you have done increases and decreases a few times now in this pattern, so hopefully you're comfortable with how to do them. If not, then just skip to the beginning of the video where we did those sorts of stitches for the body to remind yourself how to do them. So for round 3, you're going to do 2 single crochet increase, 2 single crochet increase to get you up to 8 single crochets. Round 4, 3 single crochet increase, 3 single crochet increase to get you up to 10. Rounds 5 to 7, single crochet all the way around, so 10 single crochets in each round. Then round 8, 3 single crochet decrease, 3 single crochet decrease to get you down to 8 single crochets. And then finally rounds 9 to 10, you're going to just single crochet all the way around, so 8 single crochets in each of those rounds. I'll meet you at the end of round 10 and show you how to finish off this piece. Finished round 10 and this is what it's looking like. So now you're just going to want to cut your yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. And then you can stuff this lightly, so you only want to add a little bit of stuffing to this. I'll add just a little bit more, I think. You should still be able to flatten it and make it a fairly flat shape, but just with a bit more of a height to it when you've added a little bit of stuffing like that. So as I mentioned, you're just going to want to repeat that again 3 more times until you have 4 leaves in total. So come back when you've got that, and then I will show you how to sew these to the body. So I've got one of my leaves and I'm going to start sewing it down. Again, you can use pins if you want to pin things in place, but I'm just going to hold it in place. One thing that you're going to want to remember is that you are going to need to sew a front leaf here to the front of the olive. So you're going to want to leave a little bit of a gap at the front here and just sew the other leaves all the way around the back and the sides of the olive. So I'm just going to start off by sewing down the top of the leaf to the olive, or sorry, to near the olive, not quite to the olive. I'm just going to whip stitch when I'm doing this. Okay, so like that, and then I'm going to sew the underside as well, because otherwise this isn't going to be secure. Just like that. So when you've sewn it down and you're happy with it, you can just weave your yarn tail. I might actually just sew down this little bit here because it looks a little bit messy and I don't like it. So let's just sew that one, and then I'm going to weave my yarn tail through the leaf like that. So that's the first one sewn down. I'll probably do the other one with you at the front like this, and then I might leave you to do the 2 at the back by yourself. So let's do another one together. Oops. Need to thread my needle again. I'm actually going to pick a different stitch to sew through there because I don't like the look of that. I feel like that stitch was a little bit too far away from the olive, so I'm going to pick maybe this one if I can get in it. Okay, and then I'm going to sew the underside again. And then I'm going to again weave my yarn tail through the leaf, and I can cut that to get rid of it. So that is what it's now looking like with 2 of the leaves sewn down. Now I'm going to do the other 2 at the back exactly the same way as I did here, just making sure, sorry, got some embroidery thread on the back of this. I'm going to just position them sort of evenly around the back like this as well, and then just sew those down using the exact same method that I just showed you. So this is what my Smoliv is looking like now with the leaves sewn down. Now, as I mentioned, the next thing that we're going to do is make the front leaf. So you're going to need your dark green yarn for this again. We're going to start off by doing 8 single crochets in a magic circle for round 1. Okay, so that's round 1 complete. You should have your 8 single crochets. Then for rounds 2 to 4, you're just going to single crochet all the way around, so I'll let you get on with that and I'll meet you at round 5. So now I'm ready to start round 5. In this round we're going to start doing some decreases, and we're going to be decreasing in most remaining rounds now. So for round 5 you're going to do a decrease to start off with. And then you're going to work 6 single crochets. Okay, so at the end of round 5 you should have 7 single crochets. Just going to talk you through the remaining rounds now, as it's pretty repetitive from what we've just done there. So round 6, do decrease 5 single crochet to get you down to 6. Round 7, decrease 4 single crochet to get you down to 5. Round 8, decrease 3 single crochet to get you down to 4. And then round 9, single crochet all the way around. So I'll meet you at the end of round 9. Finish round 9, this is what it's looking like. I'm just going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail long enough for sewing. You don't need to stuff this piece, we're just going to leave it unstuffed like this. So now we're ready to sew this to the body. So I'm just going to start sewing this down in the remaining gap that I left for this. Now this time, because we don't actually want this piece to be sticking up or anything, we want it to be a bit more close to the head, I'm going to start sewing down some further stitches further down this piece and at the back. So start off doing a couple like this. Probably do a couple more. I think that will probably do. You can do as many stitches as you feel like you need to get the desired look. In fact, I may just do maybe one more. Okay, yeah, I think that will do. And then I'm just going to weave that yarn tail through the leaf. And now that kind of stays more flat to the head, which is where I wanted it to be. So now I can cut that yarn tail. So now we're nearly finished. The final thing that we're going to want to do is to make the legs, which is going to be quite quick to do. So we're going to need our main body colour again for this. So I've gone ahead and made one of the legs. They're very small and very quick to make, so we'll just do the other one together now. So you're going to again want your main body colour, whichever colour you've used for that, and you're going to want to start off by doing 4 single crochets in a magic circle for round 1. Then for round 2 you're going to start off by doing an increase in this first stitch. And then you're simply going to work 3 single crochets to complete that round. That'll get you up to 5 single crochets at the end of round 2. Okay, so I'm just going to pull on my tail just to close up that hole. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail long enough for sewing. And then I'm also going to cut this yarn tail now because we don't need that anymore. So now you can just pull that yarn tail through, and that is our 2 legs complete. So come back when you've got 2 of these and I'll show you how to sew them to the body, and then we'll be done. So this time I am actually going to be using pins because these are small pieces and sometimes I do find it easier to use pins to keep them in place. And with the legs you're going to want to sew them to the bottom of the body roughly about 3 rounds apart. So 1, 2, 3, like that. So I'm just going to whip stitch all the way around to sew it down. So let's start off with this leg. Forgot to mention as well, but don't need to stuff these pieces, they're too small really to fit any stuffing anyway. It's not really required. Okay, so that's the first one sewn down. Just going to weave that yarn tail through the body and remove the pin. Now we just need to sew the other one. I'm going to just remove the pin. Okay, so actually looking at that, I'm not 100% happy with how I've sewn that down. I think this one's a little bit too far positioned forwards compared to this one here. So I'm just going to be honest and show you what I would do to fix this. So you can just unpick all of the stitches that you've done and then start again if you're having the same issue. Okay, so I'm just going to pin that one in place again a little bit further back this time. And I'm going to repeat that again, but hopefully getting it in the position that I like this time. So I can see that this was the stitch I went into last time. I can tell because it's a little bit raised. So I'm going to start off in a further back stitch this time, and hopefully that'll get me to something that I like a bit better. Just going to check that before I go any further. I do think that looks better than last time, so hopefully I'll be happy with it this time. so that's now sewn down. I do think that looks better than before, so I think I'm just going to leave it there. But again, you can keep unpicking and sewing as many times as you need to do to get to something that you're happy with. Sometimes it just does take a few times of trying for you to get it in the position that you're happy with. So don't be disheartened if it takes you a few tries. I'm just going to weave the yarn tail through like this. Then cut that and the other one. And that is my Smoliv completed. So I'm going to show you a better finished view of this, and that will be the end of this tutorial. So this is what my finished Smoliv has ended up looking like. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!